From the giant compactor in Toy Story 3, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men still lost in translation, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Yes, we are. Still lost in translation. Lost. Mark? Hello? Hello?
So
I can't see you. There's a stack of DVDs obscuring you from my vision.
So Panko, I was wondering why you like Panko breadcrumbs over regular breadcrumbs, because they're Japanese breadcrumbs.
But they're fluffy.
Because
fluffy.
They're made by passing an electric current through the dough, yielding bread without crusts.
Only the Japanese do all that stuff. It's like all that weird beef that they do. What's that beef that's like $900 an ounce?
I've had that beef.
Yeah,
Kobe beef.
Yeah, don't they do something similar to that?
Well, they don't run electric current through the cow. But
they massage it.
They massage it with beer.
Yeah, see, like the Japanese do all these weird things to stuff.
You know,
can't just be regular breadcrumbs. Can't just be regular beef. It's got to be like all weird, ritualized and done up.
Look, I spent 3 weeks in Japan.
Yeah.
Granted, this was 10 years ago, but I spent 3 weeks in Japan, and I could tell you, those people, they're screwed up.
We know that.
They really are.
Anyone who's seen Urotsukidoji, The Legend of the Overfiend, those animated films, knows that those people have problems.
They really, there's a lot of.
I know.
There's a lot of sexual repression. Yeah. There's a lot of.
I have a theory about this. I won't go into it very elaborately, but there are a lot of parallels between the issues in Japan and the issues in Great Britain. Sexually repressed, seagoing empires in decline may have something to do with it. So that being said, it is just hot as all hell here in Southern California. It is just disgusting and warm and sticky and gross everywhere.
You know what? Honestly, this weekend it was like living on the sun.
It was.
And I kept my air conditioning on all day. By the way, my air conditioning's on now.
Yeah, I know, and leave it on. People can tolerate that hum.
Okay.
So we should, before we get into the DVDs, we have a longtime faithful listener who lives in another part of the world, whose name we attempted to do justice to, but of course, being the imbeciles that we are, we mangled his name. And he was kind enough to actually send us an audio recording, correcting us on the spelling and saying some very, very nice things about us, and correcting us on the pronunciation, I should say, and saying some very nice things about us. So, without further ado, this is a new little twist on listener mail. This is like listener voicemail. So, we're just going to play a selection of this very, very kind clip that he sent us.
Greetings, Digigods. Coming at you from sunny Grodno is your number one Belarusian fan, Alexander Burlika. I am recording this message to slightly correct your pronunciation of my last name. As you've already heard, the accent is on the second syllable, so it's Burlika, not Burlika. But don't worry, most Russian-speaking people have trouble pronouncing it. And really, this is just an excuse for me to say for the umpteenth time what a big fan of yours I am, and how grateful I am to both of you guys, and to announcer Bob and producer Mike and the whole gang at Stupid for Movies for providing us with so many hours of just pure movie fan delight. I gotta say, even though I'm very, very sad to see Stupid for Movies go, at least in its current incarnation, at the same time, you guys really went out with a bang. And that ending, your Newhart-style epilogue with the sucker punch and everything else, that was just priceless. So, don't want to take up any more of your time, so once again, thanks a lot, keep up the good work, I'll keep listening. Can't wait for the next podcast. God bless.
So that's sweet. Now let's see if we can get it right. It's Alexander Burlika.
Alexander Burlika.
Okay, now you just mangled it all over again.
I did not.
You just Americanized it.
I said Burlika.
Okay.
What did he say? What did you say?
There's an accent to it. It's like Burlika.
Well, but that's very... Yeah, but that we can't be expected to pick up on the accent.
Well, you know what? It's nice to know that we're appreciated on the other side of the globe, and that people follow movies over there and stay on top of things, and it's just it's reassuring. It helps us feel like we're not just speaking into a void every week.
And even if we were, by the way, we'd still do this show.
Yes, of course we would. So, Mark, we've got music, we've got television, we have documentaries, we have movies, we have foreign.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of good stuff this week.
A lot of great stuff.
I mean, a little dry last couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's been dry for like 3 weeks, and we've been sitting here going, "Oh, this is just a fabulous." Yeah. No. We've got really good stuff this week. Classics, new movies.
Let's dive right in.
Kitschy
Let's
stuff.
do all these great new movies.
Yeah, you know
Not
what?
those new.
Well, look. Hey, no. This won't take long.
I'm timing you now. This is one of those timing deals. You have three. You have 3 minutes to talk about these movies because we got too much actual
VCI
good stuff.
Well, you know,
3
VCI.
minutes. Hang on.
It won't even take 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Go.
It won't even take 3 minutes.
Go.
All right, this is from VCI. It's part of their Rank collection. And, you know, back in the 60s, there was this unbelievably popular film series in England. I don't know that it was ever actually that popular here. But it started in the 50s, actually ramped up into the 60s. It ran for a good, solid decade. It was the Doctor series with Dirk Bogarde. And we've got a total of 7 of them here from this series. They include Doctor in the House. This is not necessarily the order they were made in. These are just the Doctor in the House, Doctor in Love, Doctor in Distress, Doctor in Clover, in color, Doctor at Large, in Eastman color, Doctor at Sea, and Doctor in Trouble. And most of them have Dirk Bogarde in them. Those are the ones that are worth watching. Some of them don't. They are, I guess, as I understand it, based on a novel or a series of novels by Richard Gordon. In any case, you know what? They're okay. They're fine. They're funny and they're clever and they're witty and they're very British in that 1950s and 60s kind of way. And it's a little bit like almost, television fare at the same time in the United States. But you know what? They are very well regarded, and they're kind of revered as a series. And I found them, I didn't watch all of them. I watched little bits and pieces. But there's a certain nostalgic, kitschy charm to it. And if it's sort of like the Carry On films. That's another one of those kind of forgotten British comedy series.
God knows I forgot it.
Yeah, see? Here we only had stuff like Ma and Pa Kettle. That was the best we could do here. Anyway, so you have this. The VCI has gotten the old Doctor series out of there from the 1950s and 60s, and go check it out. All right, Mark. Roger Corman's back on the prowl.
Yeah.
We have a couple of absolutely terrific Corman releases here, courtesy of our good friends over at Shout Factory. Roger Corman's cult classics in both cases. This one is a Blu-ray triple feature, the Women in Cages collection. Now, there are a lot of these women in prison, women in cages movies, as we often point out. Most of them were written by Jonathan Demme. The 3 here that we get are The Big Birdcage, The Big Dollhouse, and Women in Cages. I love these bylines. You could never get away with these taglines anymore. White Skin on the Black Market, The Dirty Dolls of Devil's Island.
I like that.
You can meet them for a price. Like, why? Honestly, seriously, why? Nobody would dare do that anymore. Their bodies were caged, but not their desires. They would do anything for a man or to him. Totally. Right?
Right.
Anyway, really, honestly, absolutely no reason whatsoever to have these films on Blu-ray, unless you look. Pam Grier is always worth some Blu-ray. But the most interesting stuff on here actually is the audio commentary on Big Dollhouse with Jack Hill, who directed it. And Jack Hill is just a classic old exploitation director, and it's a great audio commentary. It's a really great audio commentary, very informative, very entertaining. And there's a documentary on the making of Big Dollhouse and the Big Bird Cage as well that includes interviews with Jack Hill, among others. That's just absolutely terrific. So for me, it's all about the insights that Jack Hill gives you into a certain era and style of filmmaking that doesn't exist anymore. The movies, not so much, whatever. They're, it's exploitation. But I thoroughly enjoyed that. So,
well, there's also this one. There's the Sword and Sorcery collection from Roger Corman.
Yeah.
Now, some of these are kind of fun. These are all pretty cheesy. These are all like beefcake, softcore Conan the Barbarian type stuff. This is Deathstalker, Deathstalker 2, Barbarian Queen, and The Warrior and the Sorceress. Now, the only notable one here is Barbarian Queen because it stars Lana Clarkson.
Oh, no.
Who was murdered by Phil Spector.
Wow.
And
gosh.
And The Warrior and the Sorceress stars David Carradine, not as the Sorceress.
Yeah.
The folks at Shout Factory did a good job putting together some special features for Deathstalker and Deathstalker 2. This is really cheesy stuff, but you know what? It's good. I like this stuff. It's fun.
We have a very, very average coming-of-age romance film here called Skateland. And this is one of those things that, it takes place basically in rural Texas, and it's, it's about kids and falling in love. And honestly, I don't know. There's nothing here that I haven't seen at least dozens of times over the years, and it's just not remarkable anyway. It's very well made. I give it props for being really well made. Anthony Burns, who co-wrote and co-produced and directed it, certainly knows how to direct actors, knows where to put the camera. But again, did they have to tell this story? Did they feel that it has never been done sufficiently well to tell it? I don't know. It's on Blu-ray here. Not anything spectacular that deserves to be on Blu-ray. You'll probably get just as much enjoyment watching it on DVD. The only thing that is noteworthy, I would say, is a very good score by Michael Penn.
Michael Penn.
Who should write more music?
I like him. You know what? I have his.
The Penn brother who does not get into trouble and is not dead.
And I do have his first album, which is very good.
It is.
That's the one that included the song "No Myth," his one and only hit.
Yeah.
The Fifth Quarter is a lame inspirational drama starring Aidan Quinn, Andy McDowell, and Ryan Merriman. Based on a true story. It's about took place in 2006. It's about a 15-year-old boy who dies in a car accident, and the brother who sort of picks up the mantle for high school football greatness. And I'm just not a fan of this film. I just think it's cliched. I mean, it's very well meaning and all, but it's cliched. It's got the dead boy. It's got the handicapped daughter. And, Quinn and McDowell, of course, are very talented veterans. But, I just did not buy this movie. Rick Bieber is a longtime producer, who directed this film and did a fairly uninteresting job. I love Friday Night Lights. I think the movie, not that there's tragedy in Friday Night Lights necessarily, but I think the movie Friday Night Lights, I'm saying this right now, Wade.
Yes.
The best film ever made about football.
Friday Night Lights?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Seriously?
Yep. I'm saying it right now.
More than North Dallas 40?
Better than North Dallas 40.
More than the
You know why? Because North Dallas 40, I mean, who doesn't love North Dallas 40? But it didn't really resonate with that audience. I mean, it resonated as a look behind the scenes of football.
More than the Waterboy?
Exactly. But
More
North
than
Dallas 40.
The Replacements, come on.
More than The Longest Yard? I'm telling you, I've never seen the TV show, but Friday Night Lights, best film ever made about football.
It's a really good show as well. Yellow Brick Road comes to us from Bloody Disgusting Selects series. There are all of these, kind of horror and genre series that we get. And Yellow Brick Road was briefly in theaters. I actually talked about this on the radio at the time. Now out on DVD. It is, I wish this were better. I really do. The premise here is this wants to sort of wallow in that Blair Witch Project kind of lore. It invents this weird little backstory where in 1940 there's this New Hampshire town that everyone just for some strange reason the entire town up and wandered up some old trail and never showed up again. They just vanished. And now you got a bunch of people who decide to try and open up that trail in the present day and figure out what happened. And, of course, we all know what eventually happens to them. It should be a really creepy horror film. Instead, it winds up just feeling almost kind of like a cheat by the end, I have to be honest. But that being said, it's not without its spooky moments and certainly shows a little bit of flair. I just don't think they ever got the idea right. The execution is fine. They just never got the idea right, and that's unfortunate. But anyway, for genre fans, there are a few things to hang your hat on. Probably more of a rental than a buy.
Pete Hammond from Box Office Magazine calls the Conspirator brilliant, riveting, and suspenseful. Robert Redford has lost it. He's lost his way as a director. I think he's lost his way as everything. And in The Conspirator, he tells the story. The story of the assassination of Lincoln is actually way more interesting than it just seems like, Lincoln died.
Yeah.
That was actually a conspiracy to knock off like the top 3 members of the government on the same night.
Yeah.
Right? It was the vice president, I think the secretary of state.
Yeah.
All on the same night.
It was like supposed to be the 9/11 of its day.
Yeah, it wasn't just like, let's shoot Lincoln. It was like the top
it was a big
3.
deal.
top 3,
Yeah.
same night.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a very good book that I heard, unfortunately, Harrison Ford might want to star in called Manhunt, which is all about the search for John Wilkes Booth. But anyway, The Conspirator, directed by Robert Redford, is the story of the only woman charged with the murder of Lincoln, played by Robin Wright. And we all love Robin Wright. However, as he proved with Lions for Lambs, or Lambs for Lions, or Bears for Tigers, whatever it's called, Redford has just lost his touch. I mean, this thing is just deadening. Means well, a lot of very committed performances.
Why does this happen to so many directors when they get older? It really does.
You know what? It's when they get older. There's something about they lose that touch. They stop feeling like they have to entertain. They have to teach.
But there are some who just get better and better and better. I mean, Kubrick got better and better as he got older. David Lean got better and better as he got older. But some, like Redford's losing it. Ridley Scott's losing it.
Dennis Dugan?
Well, there you go.
You were about to say Dennis Dugan, weren't you?
I was, actually, yeah.
This is anyway, The Conspirator, there's a bunch of decent special features on it, but you know what is just stodgy and slow, and I just did not buy this thing at all.
Well.
Sorry, Robert Redford. You're lame. You're officially lame.
We've got a movie here called Super Hybrid, and this tells us exactly where we've come. You know, Mark, back in the day, I actually liked The Car when I was a kid. I thought The Car was a fun film.
I love The Car. With
that
James Brolin.
Totally.
And here's what The Car would do. The Car would go, bam, ba, ba, ba. That was the signature beep of The Car.
Yes.
And then at the end, when the car falls into the ravine and it blows up, like the flames have like little eyes on it, so like the devil car.
The devil face.
Awesome. And then the first scene in the car where the guy with the French horn is trying to hitch a ride, and then the car drives by, and then the guy with the French horn flips off the car because he wouldn't stop for him, and then the car, he stops and he backs up and he kills the guy with the French horn. Who for years I thought was Billy Crystal. I thought Billy Crystal played the guy with the French horn, but he didn't. I like the car.
Wow. You know, I don't know that I like The Car that much.
Awesome. How dare you make fun of The Car.
I also love Christine. I think Christine is a terrific film.
Whatever.
Keith Gordon is great in that film. One of John Carpenter's best.
Lame.
You don't see alignment like this in American cars anymore.
Lame.
It's going around corners.
That's
great. But, well, anyway, Super Hybrid is not as good as either of those films. But it is interesting to me that we have made a menacing car movie. It's like a cross between The Car and Christine on the one hand and Knight Rider on the other. And this is like a morph car. It can turn into other cars. It's kind of a stupid concept. But it's weird to me that now the evil car has to be a hybrid. This thing never got theatrically released, directed by Eric Valette, who's something of a genre director, did the English language version of One Missed Call. And really the only good thing about this is that it has Oded Fehr in it, the Israeli actor from The Mummy and one of the Resident Evil films, and also the first Deuce Bigalow film. I like watching him. That's about the only thing I can say about this film. Otherwise, it's really silly and shouldn't be around. I think you should. This Blu-ray we have here, it's not even a particularly good transfer. I would say just watch Christine. Don't watch Super Hybrid.
No, watch The Car. The Beaver, controversial small release, starring some guy named Mel Gibson, directed by some gal named Jodie Foster. This was a controversial film because it was pretty much Mel Gibson's first film after his enormous meltdown. And it's got a very strange premise, which is about a family man. He's a husband and father, and he's kind of hit rock bottom in his life, and he decides to communicate using a hand puppet in the shape of a beaver. Oh. And a lot of people made fun of this film, and I have to tell you, although the film is mighty flawed, I've got to say that it really is a real movie. I mean, this really tries to be something. I think the problem is Mel Gibson's terrific in it. There are very few actors who could actually pull off this role because it is so deeply strange, but Gibson actually does it. You don't laugh at him. The thing about the movie is that you're not laughing at the movie. You're not laughing at Gibson. You're not laughing at the premise. You're sort of going with it in the strange places it's taking you.
Would it have done better if people weren't hating on Mel right now? I mean, did Mel's private... This is what I find interesting about this. Did Mel's private antics ruin this film's chances for his friend Jodie Foster?
Oh, yeah. But the thing, too, is that Jodie Foster, I think, is part of the problem. Because the movie straddles all of these strange tones. It's a bit of a comedy. It's a bit of a family drama. It's a bit of a mental illness thing.
Yeah.
It's also just strange. It's a lot of tonal shifts to have to juggle, and she doesn't really do it. So in a way, you leave the movie a bit ambivalent. But Jodie Foster puts herself in the film as Gibson's wife, and it's a poorly written role that Foster can't do much with, mainly because she's A, it's underwritten, and B, she's a bit preoccupied directing it.
Right.
But I will give it credit for actually trying to be good. I mean, it's a real movie. It's a serious movie. It's trying to be something unique and interesting. And so it's a bit of a noble failure. So I would probably say give this a rental. And Foster does an audio commentary. Also, Jennifer Lawrence, who I like a lot, is in this film too as one of the as a girl who falls for Gibson's son.
Aha.
So The Beaver, I would actually say, check it out.
Good film.
Conditionally, check it out.
I got a trio of Disney releases here, and the first one, I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because there's no reason to sort of dwell on any of them. Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, 3D. And if you don't think these things are calculated, this is being released precisely 3 years and 4 days after it first hit Blu-ray. Honestly, no reason to upgrade. This is a post-conversion to 3D. They're just trying to sell this. Let's be serious. They're just trying to get higher numbers on sales of 3D televisions going.
And you know what? It's not happening.
It's not happening.
Who's buying 3D
It's
televisions? Nobody.
This movie's fun, but this movie's not fun in 3D. It doesn't need to be in 3D. It's perfect in Blu-ray. It's a wonderful little classic, and may even be the best thing Tim Burton's ever attached his name to, even though he didn't direct it. But it certainly has his feel. It's a perfect melding of his sensibilities and Henry Selick's. It's a great film, but again, this is a Blu-ray 3D and Blu-ray and DVD and digital copy, 4-disc, big Mondo whammy thing that really stick with just the word. You don't need the 3D. Don't need it. Nothing here that isn't better on the other one. And then we also have the. I'm ambivalent about this. You were ambivalent about the Mel Gibson film. I'm ambivalent about this. It's a 30th anniversary edition of The Fox and the Hound and The Fox and the Hound 2. This is this is the 30th anniversary edition, Blu-ray and DVD 2-movie collection. And I just don't like the fact that The Fox and the Hound 2 is on here at all. That's very distressing to me. So here's what you get. You get, obviously, Fox and the Hound 30th Anniversary Edition on a DVD. You get the Fox and the Hound 2 on a DVD. And then you get one Blu-ray disc that has the Blu-ray versions of both of them. The Fox and the Hound is a sweet little film. Not one of the all-time classics, but a sweet enough film. If you're being a Disney completist, you want to have it. But The Fox and the Hound 2 is just completely superfluous and junky and crap. And you're really forcing people to take a piece of crap in addition to a movie that they want. And it's unfortunate. It really ruins the whole franchise idea. The one should exist, the other one should not. Great Blu-ray transfer, by the way. And then this represents everything that I think is evil about Disney in the current day. Disney of yesteryear, wonderful. Disney of today is evil. And how do we know that? The Blu-ray DVD combo disc of Prom. Now, this would be a horror film made by any other studio. Any other studio made a movie called Prom, that's a horror film. That's like people getting murdered at the prom. In this movie, it's every just goofy, good-looking, young, clean-cut, hyper-cool kid who's going to wind up shaming Disney with some kind of dreadful act in the future. They're all in this movie.
Now, I have to say something about Prom.
Ugh.
Prom was directed by Joe Nussbaum, and Joe Nussbaum used to work for me.
A lot of these people used to work for you.
Joe was a director on The Man Show, which I executive produced the last 2 seasons of.
Can you account for why he made this movie?
Well, because he's got a kid, he's got to work.
There you go.
But the thing with Joe is that he made his start directing George Lucas in Love. He was the director of that short. And he's very talented, very funny, terrific writer, good guy. And he needs that break where he can actually do something that means something to him. Because if he does something that really means something to him, I feel like he would just knock it out of the park. But you get this Prom stuff, and the problem is that how good is this movie ever going to be, really? This is product. This is Disney product. And if you give it a guy like Joe, he's going to make it look good. It's going to move nice. It's going to get a bunch of songs. Kids are going to like it.
It's like High School Musical.
Yeah.
It's aimed at that audience, and I just have
But I would like to see Joe really maybe write something from his heart that he can then direct.
Yeah,
and
be nice.
I think he would knock it out of the park.
Yeah, well.
Prom is just product that you can give this thing to Spielberg. It's going to become Prom.
Yeah.
So you can't really blame Joe for it.
I'd still like to see that horror film. I would. I want to see a horror film. And then, real quickly, before we move on to the last bunch of films, the new releases. Previously, there were box sets, DVD, Blu-ray. I'm going to say this over again. Previously, there were Blu-ray releases, box sets of the entire Magnificent Seven series and the entire Man with No Name series. And now we get them on individual one-offs in case you wanted to just get, say, for a few dollars more and not Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Fistful of Dollars. You just want to watch these two or this one. Fine. Then there you go. You can pick it up as a Blu-ray single. Otherwise, the box sets are still out there. And, of course, I also have here in front of me the Blu-rays of The Magnificent Seven and Return of the Magnificent Seven, which both feature that fabulous bald pate of Yul Brynner, who we adore. Yul Brynner was Ukrainian,
Magnificent Seven is based on a Japanese film called Yojimbo.
Seven Samurai. Okay. I know you're being weird and obtuse, and I wasn't sure. Are you being funny? But you know what? Here's the thing that I love actually. That nobody. This is one of these little odd anecdotes. Do you know
where you're going to? Do you know the things that life are showing you?
Do you know, Mark Kaiser? Do you know who wrote The Return of the Magnificent Seven?
John Sayles.
No, that's The Return of the Secaucus Seven.
Damn.
Wow. Return of the Magnificent Seven was written by Larry Cohen.
Really?
Yes.
Is that why it sucked?
Well, it's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But that was Larry Cohen back when he was just forging his career before he would go on to do things like
X, the
Q, the Quetzalcoatl, the Winged Serpent, and before he would do things like Black Caesar and a lot of other. He did all those blaxploitation films.
He's been around forever, that guy.
Yeah. And of course, we should point out he is, of course, the only surviving brother of the recently slain publicist in Hollywood.
Yes,
Ronnie Chasen.
Ronnie Chasen.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
And that's very, very sad. But so our hearts go out to Larry. He's still got a career, man.
Oh, Wade. The Perfect Host. I saw this movie. This is David Hyde Pierce. The only good thing about the movie is David Hyde Pierce, and even he's not that great. This is directed by an Aussie guy, and it is about a criminal who just robbed a bank. He's on the run, and he winds up hiding out in the home of David Hyde Pierce,
who is crazy,
who plays a very rich and effete, sort of
he's
bon vivant, and he is throwing a dinner party
yeah.
when this bank robber takes him hostage in his own home. And, of course, it turns out that David Hyde Pierce isn't the wimpy, effete
yes.
New Yorker magazine reading dinner party throwing
crazy.
Guy. He's actually crazy.
Yeah.
And my problem with the movie is that it doesn't really have any internal logic. It's just pretty much David Hyde Pierce being crazy. And that's it. That's all you get.
But he's good at being crazy.
I guess.
He's fun.
Well, but the thing is that the problem with Pierce and what really sinks the movie is that there's really no menace in David Hyde. He's not a menacing actor.
True.
So he can play the effeminate part.
Yeah.
But he cannot play the menacing part where you're really scared for this guy's life. And part of the script here by Nick Tomney, he's an Australian guy, and is that there's a lot of switching of allegiances and who's going to get the upper hand on who. And in the end, the movie just becomes one just trick after trick after trick.
Yeah. Where
it just becomes like, oh, what's the next twist going to be?
Right.
And after a while, I don't care about the next twist. Tell me a story. That's all I care about. Don't try to impress me with your twists. And on that level, I kind of started to get sick of it. But anyway, Perfect Host.
One of the films that was a big critical favorite earlier in the year, and which I think is going to make a bit of a comeback at Oscar time. I think people are going to really remember this when awards time comes around, because it's still one of the most enjoyable films of the year, is Win Win. Tom McCarthy, who wrote and directed it, is a former actor, best known for the two films, Station Agent and The Visitor. The Station Agent, I was not a fan of. The Visitor, I loved. But that being said, I think he's a very, very good director, and I think he's a very sharp writer, and his films all kind of have a similar theme running to them, which is that he takes unlikely people, puts them together, a situation that brings unlikely bedfellows together and forces them to somehow come to terms, learn to better each other's lives, learn to understand each other. And, you wonder how many times he can go to that well, but I'll tell you, he's gone there 3 times, and he's been very successful at it every time. This is far and away his most commercial film. Paul Giamatti as an attorney and a sometime wrestling coach in this small town who basically winds up having to shepherd this troubled kid through a kind of a turnaround in life. And this kid is kind of wayward, but he has a knack for wrestling, an unbelievable knack for wrestling. And I just think it's absolutely terrific. Giamatti is wonderful. And the supporting cast is terrific. It's just absolutely a really sharp little movie, and not much. We have the Blu-ray here, and it's a good Blu-ray. It's actually a surprisingly good transfer. This was a Fox Searchlight release, not a real dazzling visual feast, but it comes off very nicely on Blu-ray. And great conversation on here with Tom McCarthy and Paul Giamatti at Sundance earlier this year. Some deleted scenes. A few other little featurette-y things, and a music video by The National of Think You Can Wait. Yeah, that's going to sell this thing.
Hi, Wade.
We got 2 more. Why don't here jump into the television? I'll let you get some television going. I'll just mention these last 2 real quickly. We've got Good Will Hunting finally out on Blu-ray. It's a Blu-ray and digital copy release. This is, of course, a Miramax film, which finally now, thanks to the new Miramax owners and their agreement with Lionsgate, we're finally getting these things out. And the one thing that occurred to me while watching this is, holy crap, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck look young. I can't believe they won an Academy Award for Best Screenplay when they were that young. Now, I can credit a lot of other people for their screenplay, and probably should, given what we now know about the screenplay. But that being said, it's still a great...
you're saying that it was ghost-written by William Goldman?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Even though William Goldman has denied that to this day.
Yeah, it's because he's being a class act. But anyway, it's still an awfully good movie. Regardless of whether or not that screenplay Oscar is earned, it's a damn good movie. And it's a smart movie. It's a heartfelt movie. Robin Williams is terrific in it. Matt Damon is terrific. And even Ben Affleck, who just annoys the crap out of me as an actor more often than not. He's done maybe 2 good performances in like 30 that just drive me bananas. But he's very good in it as well. And, 2 discs here, the second one being the digital copy. Forget about it. Blood Simple, also on Blu-ray, a terrific Coen Brothers film, which recently was remade by Zhang Yimou in a very strange period Chinese film.
Not good, by the way.
I like it.
It was called like 2 Men in a Noodle Shop.
A Girl, a Gun,
in
a Noodle Shop.
Yeah.
But this is still that was almost more of a weird exercise that he did. This is still a really good film. They did a good job with the Blu-ray, the 20th and MGM people. They kept the grit, the indie grit of this thing, because this is one of the films that sort of started the indie revolution back in the 1980s. And it's still a terrific thriller. It's just a great modern noir, and it doesn't get better than this.
Well, there's a 4 Blu-ray box set that is coming out of Coen Brothers films.
Yes, there
the Coen
is.
Brothers collection, and
That's
Blood
true.
Simple is one of the DVDs in that, one of the Blu-rays in that.
So maybe you want to hold off then.
You maybe want to buy it because the collection
Yes.
also includes Fargo, Blu-ray of Fargo,
Yeah.
and a Blu-ray of Miller's Crossing.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
Not
Miller's
Barton
Crossing.
Fink.
Well, I mean, they worked for a lot of different companies. That's the problem.
Yes.
Can't get all those people on the same board. But anyway, not much by way of extras here. There's an audio commentary with Kenneth Loring of Forever Young Films, which is sort of a very odd and superfluous commentary, and then the trailer. But nonetheless, whether in the box set or alone, you got to have Blood Simple. It's an American indie classic.
It totally is. Wait.
Oh, you know what, Mark? Before I forget.
Yes, ma'am.
Before moving to television, there is one last film here. We almost didn't notice it because it comes in this weird briefcase, this aluminum briefcase. Hoodwinked 2, Hood versus Evil, was sent to us in an aluminum briefcase, which I'm opening now. It includes chocolates. Here you
Where?
go,
Give me
Mark.
chocolates. It really does.
Yes, it does.
I'm all over the chocolates.
And this is the way that they intend to make us notice things.
You think maybe they injected this chocolate with something?
Hey,
I mean,
Mark.
like it's a Ferrero Rocher, whatever it's called.
Yes, Ferrero Rocher.
It's a Ferrero Rocher
Here,
chocolate.
you
They're
can-
good.
Here, use this. This is your lunchbox now. Take
All right.
that. Take that to work every
It
day.
says Hoodwinked 2, Hood vs. Evil on Blu-ray and DVD August 16, 2011. It's a little a cheap aluminum case.
Yeah, Blu-ray and DVD combo. This is the way they force us to take notice of this and hopefully coerce us to say nice things about it.
Which is,
So
which is not going to happen. by
Which
the
is
way.
not going to happen because this film sucks.
Why do I want this?
But Hoodwink, the first Hoodwink sucked. It's like these things are wannabe Shrek movies. Somebody saw Shrek and said, "Ooh, I think I could do a better fairy tale spoofy thing than that." So they made Hoodwinked, which was just so amateur. And this is just as amateur. The only thing here is that they got some great voice talent. Patrick Warburton, that voice always works.
That guy's hilarious.
it's just-
You know what? On The Family Guy, he plays Joe, the wheelchair-bound cop.
yeah.
So funny.
Well, you remember the little extended commercial that he did with Jerry Seinfeld, where he does the voice of Superman. Jerry Seinfeld in the animated
Yes.
Superman, he does the voice of Superman in that. When he played the live action The Tick. I mean, the guy rules. He was Putty on Seinfeld. He's the best. He's the best. We love him. And then also Bill Hader, always funny. Amy Poehler, a couple of veterans from Saturday Night Live. Martin Short, who's always funny, at least when he's talking. Glenn Close, Hayden Panettiere. So, I mean, good voice talent. But the movie itself, come on, stop. Just stop. Enough with this already. It's just not that fun. But anyway, enough. All right, Mark, let's go TV.
I'm throwing this away. Should we give this away?
You want to give it away?
Yeah.
Why would somebody want? No, just no. Make it a lunch pail. Take it to work. Give it to somebody. Give it to a homeless guy. It'll become like currency in the homeless world. It'll be like gold or something. The Hoodwinked box standard.
Fine.
Yeah.
Just saying, I was gonna give it away.
Okay.
Wade said no.
No.
Oh, Captain America. Now, before the Captain America with Chris Evans, directed by whoever directed that, I forgot, Joe Johnston or whoever.
Well, there were two Captain America TV movies. There was one with
Yes.
Reb Brown, which we all try to forget about because it was just so horrible.
Oh yes, as if this one, directed by the great Albert Pune, was any better.
The best director ever to come out of Hawaii.
Yes. This is starring Matt Salinger, who, yes, is the son of J.D. Salinger.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
That is true. Matt Salinger plays Captain America, who defeated the Red Skull in 1941, but then he's thrown into suspended animation and comes out 50 years later to face the Red Skull again.
Basically the same story as
It's the
the
same
movie.
story, and this movie is just terrible because Albert Pune is not a very good director. This is quite low budget. It is good only on pure cheese. If
Now-
you want cheese, go for it.
I'm going to tell you something because there is someone who co-stars in this, and right there, I'm going to point to the name. You forgot about that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, a good friend of ours is one of the co-stars, and I will not name the name, but I will say that that person and another person worked on a previous film together in this, and I had it on very, very good authority in a conversation that working with Albert Pune was a delight.
Yeah,
and they all want to do it again.
Well,
People love working with him.
well, but you know what? There's a theory. I don't know if I buy this theory or not. That the worst, most difficult sets make the best movies.
You know,
if everyone's having a great time on a film, you're not making a good film.
no, probably not.
Twilight Zone season 5. Wait, here's the thing with Twilight Zone
Season 5
On
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray.
Yeah. Well, they're working their way through the Blu-ray releases now. We're getting there.
This is it, Wade. This is Shatner, Nightmare
Yeah.
20,000 Feet.
Yes. There are a lot of great episodes here.
Oh, yeah.
Are you okay?
Season 5 is great.
Season 5 is terrific. A lot of classics. I mean, they all have classics, but there are a lot of classics in this season.
Come on.
And
Excuse me, Living Doll.
Yes.
What's Talking Tina going to do, Wade?
That's right.
She's going to kill you.
That's right.
Season 5, baby. And by the way, you realize that one of the least interesting episodes of the season, the self-improvement of Salvador Ross, was directed by Don Siegel.
Yeah.
Don Siegel.
Of Dirty Harry and
Dirty
many
Harry
other
and,
great Clint Eastwood movie
yes.
fame. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Richard Donner also directed an episode from season 5.
Yeah, he directed a few, actually.
Good
Well,
stuff.
there are heaps and heaps of goodies on here. There are all the goodies that were in the previous releases, all the extras, all the commentaries, all the interviews. They're all here, and 20 new audio commentaries exclusive to the Blu-ray set, as well as conversations with Rod Serling, vintage audio interview with the director of photography, George T. Clemens, and 22 radio dramas featuring people who are in some of these episodes. It's amazing. They just packed all that junk onto this 5 Blu-ray set, and you got to get it. It's that simple.
Great. Yep. We love us some Twilight Zone.
We do.
Now, before we talk about Wade's favorite show from the 70s, let's talk about the complete first season of Nikita. Now, Nikita, I don't know how this thing made it to another season, but I guess CW picked up this thing. They got nothing else going on.
They just won't let the concept die, and it's interesting that this is now, well, Luc Besson is milking all of his creations in every conceivable ancillary market for all they're worth.
I know, but you know what? This is lame. I'd rather have make another Nikita movie or something.
Yeah.
Maggie Q plays Nikita. She's martial arts, and she kicks butt.
Yeah,
it's great stuff. No, it's not. It's terrible.
I like Maggie Q.
Oh, she's great, and of course the movie La Femme Nikita is fantastic. But this show is not very good. There's 22 episodes, 4 Blu-rays. Looks good, well shot. There's some bonus scenes. There's commentary by some of the creative team, which means that they didn't get Maggie Q to do a commentary. And, that's it. I just honestly, come on, folks. Do you really need the first season of Nikita? You do not. That is a negative. Season 5 of Spin City. Now, Spin City is finally making its way to DVD, not Blu-ray. Now, Season 5 was the controversial season because this is when Michael J. Fox left the show and was replaced by Charlie Sheen. And I'm surprised that they didn't come out with this back when Charlie Sheen was really making the news, although there is a sticker that they obviously at the last minute stuck on this that says Charlie Sheen joins Heather Locklear in the cast.
Yeah.
Double exclamation point.
Yeah.
At this point, the movie. At this point, the show kind of run out of gas.
It was on fumes.
Yeah,
it
ran out of gas. Although Heather Locklear still hot,
ageless.
Well, no, you know what? Now she's ageful.
You know
she's
what?
She's ageful
though?
now.
I gotta tell you, still works for me, and I still have very, very fond memories of Scott Baio at the Battle of the Network Stars, throwing that softball and dunking both Heathers, Heather Locklear and Heather Thomas.
Yeah,
it was good. It was good times.
She's a Heather that didn't make it.
It was good times. Yeah, that was good times. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark Special Edition. This is, of course, not the new one, not the Guillermo del Toro produced and written version of the remake of this thing, directed by Troy Nixey, a guy who had only made a short film, and you can tell from watching the film, then it's just not good. The new one. Oddly enough, this the original film starring Kim Darby and Jim Hutton, which was made for television, of all things, is a lot scarier. 1973 television movie, scarier than the big-budget feature film that was remade of it almost 40 years later. Wow, who knew? You get, really, it's the same story. A little girl goes down, opens up the, in this case, not so much a little girl, but opens up the, in this creepy old mansion, the subterranean fireplace, and then these pent-up little ancient creatures are unleashed, and it's creepy, man. It's just scary and creepy. This was directed by John Newland, who did a lot of stuff for television, and this is one of his better films, actually. And this is part of the our Warner Archive collection, which you can find more out. You can learn a lot about by going to WarnerArchive.com. But I still think this is a terrific little film. The new one, crap. This one, pretty good and very nicely remastered. So,
you know what's not terrific, Wade? The Vampire Diaries Season 2. This is another CW piece of crap.
I'm so tired of these things. Find pretty people.
On Blu-ray.
Find pretty people. Make them vampires. Hope that young college girls and teenage high school girls will watch.
Well, this is even worse because in the second season they introduced werewolves because the show already wasn't
like Twilight.
Wasn't like Twilight.
Yeah.
Here you got there's one of the main characters. She's got like an evil twin or something, like a doppelganger evil twin that they introduced. Although, it's the shame is that a couple of these episodes were directed by John Dahl.
That's where he's gone. That's where he's gone to die.
I know.
Yeah.
John Dahl had a very promising film career, did a couple of bombs, and now he's out there doing CW crap. Feel bad for him.
I know. He has a comeback in him, but it's got to be the right project, I was a huge, enormous, gargantuan fan of the Man from Atlantis when I was a kid. Man, look, I was a kid. Come on, it was cool. He was from Atlantis, and he had webbed hands and webbed feet.
Webbed hands.
And it was
terrible.
It was a cool sci-fi fish out of water thing. Fish out of water. Oh,
this is from 76,
it was
77.
great. Patrick Duffy, man, before Dallas. And I'd never heard of Patrick Duffy, but he did a great job. I love those loner heroes. He's from Atlantis. He's the last one.
Well, the thing is that like in the show, wasn't Patrick Duffy like an amnesiac who's like he thinks he's the only surviving member of Atlantis or something? Isn't he? Is he from Atlantis, or does he think
he's from Atlantis, man. No, he is freaking from Atlantis, and he's got gills, and he can breathe underwater, and basically what's going on here is that. In the wake of the $6 Million Man, the $6 Million Man changed everything in television in the 70s. And suddenly everyone wanted to find that show that was about, that had a little supernatural quality to it, a little sci-fi quality, like he's a hero not like other heroes, he can do fill in the blanks. And so everybody was trying to do a $6 Million Man thing. And that's sort of what they were going for here. The show didn't really last. It died very quickly. But we do now have the complete television series and the complete TV movies collection because there were some after-the-fact movies that, four total films that kind of wrapped everything up after the fact. So... I still like this. I still think it's very dated. I'll be honest with you. It feels like something from the 70s. It feels like a relic and an artifact. But there's a lot of fun to it. And if you can kind of take a trip back in time and just enjoy the cheesiness of it, you'll enjoy some of the great guest stars. Kareem is in this. Pernell Roberts, Pat Morita, they all show up. It's the 70s,
Pat
man.
Morita, wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off, absolutely. And I have to say something about Belinda Montgomery, who plays, of course, the sort of the quasi-love interest scientist lady. Loved her. She was great on the show. Just terrific.
The worst.
The best.
She's still around, by the way, Belinda Montgomery.
I know she is.
Still around.
Running Wild Season 1. This didn't last. This really didn't last. Because Will Arnett is on a new show now.
Well, it felt very contrived. It was, he's the crazy party guy. She's the one who loves eco crap.
This is what happens. This was created by the people who did Arrested Development, and when that show was canceled, they had to come up with something else, and they're always under pressure from the TV networks to come up with things, anything. And you can't be creative at the drop of a hat. So very often they'll just go, I don't know, how about a show about a guy, he's wacky, he's crazy, and she's not. And
it really is like I'm sure they have a hat.
Yeah.
And inside the hat are scraps of paper with either occupations or characteristics.
Exactly.
He's a blank.
Yes.
She's a blank.
Yeah.
And they just pick two pieces of paper out of the hat, and that's the show.
It's TV a la Gene Rayburn.
That's very true.
Yep.
Gene Rayburn with the stick mic.
Yeah. Which Jimmy Fallon has brought back, by the way.
Stick mic?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Jimmy Fallon will do he'll do these little mock game shows, and he always comes out with a stick mic.
What time do you have to watch that show, Jimmy Fallon? I mean, seriously, come on.
12:30 to 1:30 every night.
When do you go to sleep? You go to sleep at
1:30.
Do you really?
Yeah, after Fallon. And then I wake up at 7.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's my life.
Parenthood Season 2. This was a highly touted show from the good folks at NBC. It stumbled out of the gate a little bit, mostly because it got pushed back to mid-season because Moira Tierney got cancer, unfortunately. And she is fine. At least I believe she's fine. Hope she's fine. But the show went on without her, and now we have Season 2. Is this show as funny as the movie with Steve Martin and Rick Moranis? Absolutely not. Directed by Ron Howard. This has pretty much been blanched of its wackiness and turned into something that is just, about being a parent. Deleted scenes, audio commentaries. It's basically fine. There is a new season coming out. He's kind of limping along. It's not doing all that great. But, if you like this show, if you're a parent, maybe you'll see something in it.
We got some docs here to roll through real quickly because we also want to get to some really good foreign stuff. I mean, there's some legendary foreign stuff here. Lloyd Kaufman better known as the godfather of Troma, Lloyd, the last great exploiteer who built Troma into the gigantic, cheesy empire that it is today. Lloyd Kaufman is an expert in how to make crappy movies cheaply, copiously, and become incredibly rich and successful at it. He wrote a book called Produce Your Own Damn Movie, and this is now the film version, the 2-disc DVD box set of Produce Your Own Damn Movie, which is this is the third one of these own damn movie things that he's come out with. But I got to say this, as much as we want to be dismissive of this and just kind of say, well, that Lloyd, he's a wacky nut, he's crazy, don't listen to anything he says, nobody else can do it. There's really a lot of interesting stuff here because you get interviews with not just Lloyd Kaufman, but people who really know what they're talking about. Now, you're going to laugh because Avi Lerner is interviewed in here, and it's like we rip on Avi Lerner all the time. But Corman is here, Cronenberg, Monty Hellman, Joe Dante, the Duplass brothers, Caroline Barron, who was the producer of Capote, started in the...
K-Pot?
K-Pot?
Capote? Oh, I thought it was pronounced K-Pot.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Anyway, no, it's interesting. Now, you got to take this a little bit with a grain of salt because it's, the Kaufman wants you to buy this thing and so that he can make money off of it. But some of the interesting stuff here, there's a documentary on Herschel Gordon Lewis, which I found interesting. I know a little something about Herschel Gordon Lewis, as he figured into our own documentary Schlock many years ago. And some of the guerrilla filmmaking stuff I think is a little dated in this day and age, but nonetheless, there's a lot to learn from here, if not for how to make a movie, but how they made them back in Lloyd Kaufman's heyday.
Well, don't forget, back when Lloyd Kaufman made a film, you couldn't just pick up a digital camera for $100 at Best Buy and go make yourself a damn film.
No.
You had to get the... I remember years and years ago where when I was doing little tiny short films, I would call these film processing houses and I would ask for short ends.
That was it, man. I so remember that. Oh, geez, I remember doing that.
You'd call for these. We have a couple 100 feet of short ends. You want it? Hell yeah.
Sure.
But nowadays, you're not calling post houses blind, begging for short ends. You're going to Best Buy, get yourself a real beautiful camera.
And if you, speaking of beautiful, you like this segue, if you are a fan of the Dalai Lama, you can get a lot of wisdom and contentment out of a couple of these new, basically it's just the Dalai Lama, sharing his wisdom with you. And one of them is Contentment, Joy, and Living Well by the Dalai Lama. These are all part of the Meridian Trust series. And the other is A Practical Way of Directing Love and Compassion. And you know what? Both of these are long. I mean, this is each one is about 2.5 hours long. But if you don't, a little longer, I guess it is. It's like 2 hours and 3/4. It didn't feel that long. But you know what? You don't have to be a Buddhist to really learn something from this. This is a guy who has a great deal of wisdom. He's lived an eventful life, to say the least. And these are really quite lovely. So if you know somebody that's troubled and downtrodden, might not be a bad thing to kind of grab these and watch it with them. I am not hugely a fan of Super Size Me. I thought that was a little bit of an annoying movie, but Morgan Spurlock won me over with with Palm Wonderful Presents the Greatest Movie Ever Sold.
He really owns that concept, doesn't he? He went to town with it.
And we have to point out the name of this movie is Palm Wonderful Presents the Greatest Movie Ever Sold, because that's the whole point of the movie, is that he's going around trying to find someone to actually sponsor the movie. He's trying to fund the movie while he's making the movie by finding a sponsor to buy the title of the movie. To basically, he's selling the title of the movie, among other things in the movie.
Awesome.
It's really a fascinating look at marketing. And it tells you a lot, really, about the mindset of people who are willing to do this. Because there are a lot of people who will just tell him, "Shine on, dude. I know who you are, and I know what you're doing." And there are others who are kind of like, "I don't, what? You could rip on us, and it's still free publicity. So let's go. Let's have at it." It is. It's a sharp little doc. It didn't really last very long, but I think it's fun, and it's especially fun in Blu-ray because it just all of the detail and all of the advertising really pops, and I didn't expect that to be the case. And the last doc that we have here is Cameraman, the life and work of Jack Cardiff. If you don't know who Jack Cardiff is, you have no business being a movie fan. Jack Cardiff is the man who basically invented color cinematography. He changed everything. He is one of the most legendary figures ever. What Greg Toland was to black and white cinematography with Citizen Kane, Jack Cardiff was to color cinematography with stuff like Black Narcissus and the Red Shoes and the African Queen. Incredible documentary. It is just a beautiful history of an incredible man, the people he worked with, the movies he worked on. If you have a collection of great documentaries about the history of movies, this has to be there. It must be there, and you've got to get it in Blu-ray because otherwise you're not doing justice to the cinematography. Right?
Kinda.
Right? We got some foreign films to wrap out with here, Mark. Let's see. Did you see Poetry?
I did not.
You did not see Poetry. I'm going to talk about Poetry for just a second. I was hoping you had seen it because there are some things in it. This is a Korean film by Lee Chang-dong. It won a screenplay award at Cannes the year that it was released, and I find it to be charming, but I find it to be... here's the thing. Korean films, I really like them because they're tweaked.
Oh,
right?
totally.
They're totally tweaked.
Right?
Right. And when they're not tweaked, they're a little bit sentimental. And this actually got 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Did you know that?
Wow.
They even brag about it on the yeah. But this is basically about a woman who's fighting Alzheimer's, and as part of her therapy, she takes a poetry class to kind of try to stem the deterioration. And it winds up being very kind of sentimental and charming and sweet, maybe a little bit too much so. And I think sometimes those tendencies to make movies that are really tweaked when you're not going tweaked, I think the Koreans tend to wallow a little bit in the saccharine and the maudlin. But
I agree.
But it is a very sweet film. It's beautifully photographed. This is from Kino and a great Blu-ray. I got to tell you, the photography is just first rate.
I agree.
So yeah, but I was hoping I'd get your opinion on it. But
I
hell
agree.
with that. And then by sheer coincidence, or maybe not, a much better film by the same director, Lee Chang-dong, is out in a Criterion edition. And clearly, Criterion must have coordinated something and said, "Hey, look, Kino's releasing poetry. Let's just jump on that and get something with the Lee Chang-dong fans because there's so many of them."
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, but this won Best Actress at Cannes for the lead actress, and basically plays a piano teacher who loses her husband and then moves in with her son. And this is less sentimental, much more kind of intense drama, and I really, really appreciated it. And then, we're running out of time. In a Better World, Mark, were you not as fond of this as I was?
Oh, is it the Susan Beers film?
Yeah.
You love her.
Oh, I loved it.
She's great.
Susanna Bier, yeah. This was great. I mean, I prefer After the Wedding, the film that was nominated but did not win the Oscar. But this is the Susanna Bier film that did win the Oscar this last year. And this is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack from Sony Pictures Classics. I don't think this is necessarily the best film. Incendie, I think, was a better film. But this is still a damn good movie. It's a damn good
totally.
movie. I mean, these two kids and the broken families they come from, and the troubles that the parents go through, and all that stuff in Africa. The one father, he's a Doctors Without Borders. Occasionally goes to Africa several times in the movie and encounters this political situation there, and comes home and encounters this very different situation with his son. All of these cross currents are basically just telling you the world is a screwed up place, and it is what you make it. And some wonderful acting here. Susanna Bier is just terrific with actors, and I think this is a great movie. Some people thought it was too sentimental, too.
There's nothing wrong with sentimental nowadays, Wade. Sentimental is good.
Apparently not. Let's see. Running quickly out of time. Oh, should we? Hell with it. Let's see. We'll save this for next week. I'm going to make a mention of one other Criterion release here, and then we'll save the other stuff for next week. This is the warped, as long as we're talking about tweaked Korean films, let's talk about tweaked Japanese films, the warped world of Koreyoshi Kurahara. This is the Eclipse Series 28 from Criterion's Eclipse series. If you don't know who Koreyoshi Kurahara is, you've got to get this. At least rent it. The 5 films here, Intimidation, the warped ones, I Hate But Love, Black Sun, and Thirst for Love. Some of the coolest movies you will ever see from the Japanese New Wave series. Japanese New Wave era, I should say. So that's it. We're done. We'll see you next week.